Welcome everybody. Tim Edwards calling in from Dallas. Want to do a really short training today on how to have top leader clarity. I see a lot of stuff in the industry after being in 23 years and building some really big teams and retiring a couple times. I've got the benefit of having a lot of old school relationship and mentoring type training combined with utilizing technology today to update things but use kind of the best of both worlds. And what I see a lot of today is that most of the companies and the leaders have deferred to almost all technology. You know, they'll have an occasional live hangout or some kind of live chit chat, but not a lot of nuts and bolts. It's usually a lot of stories and a lot of what I call jibber jabber. It just kind of goes on and talking about how great things are and you can do it, but not real meat. You know, and they defer most of their trainings to, you know, there's too much clutter. It's a lot of videos, a lot of posts, a lot of reading. You know, you're kind of on your own to actually go learn it. So this is going to be how to have the clarity of a top leader, no matter what business that you're in, and you need to have an understanding of what goes on, because when you don't understand, it can cause 10 times the mindset issues when you than the actual reality, right? Because you get kind of blindsided with stuff. So when you know the drill, when you know what to expect, you can have the clarity to continue. Now, first off, the clarity needs to come so it eliminates the confusion. A lot of people get depressed, they get kind of beat down, they you know, and confused people do nothing, and eventually they quit, right? So if you're a leader or a mentor, you must be extremely accessible, not just by chat, not just on a video, but you must implement some form of high-touch environment by phone, and I even prefer Skype, you know, because you can actually see people's facial expressions, and you bring in a lot of different elements where people connect at a high level. You need to get to know your people. And if you're seeking knowledge, there are three things that you kind of have to have that I consider to be required. One, you've got to have a connection with your mentor. If you're not contacting that mentor daily or almost daily, their job is not to reach out to you. Your job is to reach to them, right? As a leader, what I look for are people that will seek me out. You know, we certainly couldn't call hundreds of people and try to pump them up and get them to call us. So what you do is you build a team, you look for people that will seek you out. So if you're looking to learn and you've got access to a mentor, you should be contacting them on a daily basis. Or very frequently, and not just a chit chat, not just to pump you up, but literally, you know, this is what happened. What can I do? Or I've got a person that I want you to talk to. Really, it's on the job training, but you've got to seek them out and get in touch with them on a regular basis. The second thing is you've got to be coachable. But if your mentor has a hugely successful track record, and you're in contact with them on a regular basis, you should be following their principles, right? Because their job is to teach you, and your job is to follow things as closely as you can to a T. And number three, you want to take massive action. The repetition will put your prospects in front of your mentor on a regular basis. This is what creates enrollments for you. It's what makes you money. And as I said, this is on-the-job training, not a lot of classroom training. I do a little bit of classroom training every week, but really I spend most of my time talking to people that are on my team, getting inside their head and talking to their prospects, making sure they learn how to think, learn how to lead, and bring people to me. And then you should be observing, you know, again, and taking notes. You know, I've got people that record every conversation that we have, you know, and they run those things in their cars. You need to be a little bit obsessive about running this stuff in through your mind so you can get the word tracks down, you can get the belief and the excitement. You know, and your mentor, you know, again, if you've got this stuff running all the time and you're around your mentor quite a bit with questions and prospects, and then when you're away from them, you're running stuff, you know, in the car while you're in the shower or whatever, you'll immerse yourself and it'll rub off on you much faster. So, and if you don't have a mentor, you need to know that you've got to become one or you've got to find one, period. This is not a business that most people can learn on their own from scratch. It's just too tough. And the information is not a natural thing that you learn. There's nothing you've learned in school that will apply here. So it's kind of growing a new brain, and so you kind of have to have a track to run on. Next thing is you must understand how to put what I call your mindset armor on daily. You need to protect yourself from the shots that people take at you, because people are going to take shots at you. That's just part of it. These things don't work. This is a pyramid. Call me when you make money. I don't do those things. I love when people call it a thing, right? And so what's your daily mindset armor? You should be doing a daily visualization, which includes your daily goals. This is what I mentioned earlier, that I've got some short courses on that. If you don't know how to do that, if you haven't studied that or don't know what it means, at the very end of this training, I'll give you my YouTube channel, and you can look for the visualizations training, and I've got one that's mindset and setting goals, and you need to look for those two titles. The thing I hear most is, I don't know what to do. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of instances here. And in a lot of cases, it's not your fault, right? It's the person's fault who brought you on board. If they're not working with you and teaching you the business, it's not your fault that you don't know what to do. And here's what I mean. If any of you that are on my team, I personally, I'm a stickler for simplicity. If you're a leader, how many moving parts do you have for your duplication model? What I mean is, how many steps do your people have to go through to learn the business, especially if you're deferring all of the knowledge to tapes and videos and steps and reading. And if it's like a freaking college course to get involved with you, to get set up with you, and to learn with you, and hours and hours and hours, and setting up autoresponders and AWebers and capture pages, and there's not even 5 out of 100 people that will get through all that. So since it's difficult in the beginning to bring people on, you don't want a process that's multi-stepped, multi-houred, multiple hours to do it, because it takes out most of your people, right? So when you join, here's what happens in my business. You join, I invite you into my secret Facebook group. We give you a free system, including the autoresponders and the capture pages. It's already set up. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to learn anything. It's very simple. And all you do at that point is we identify some people that you know, or you have acquaintances maybe on Facebook, and all we're doing is asking them if they have 5 minutes to chat, if they're open. That's it. That's the whole process. 2 minutes to join, put you in the secret group, you get a free system. We can be on the phone literally working in 10 minutes. Okay, and we don't, and again, don't put people through a bunch of videos or hours of training, because nobody's going to get through it. Now, let's go to the next one. Also, you need to understand this is a numbers game. Here's what a lot of people do. When you're new to the business, you think because it's awesome for you and the timing was right for you and you see the big picture that a lot of people would be interested. And just know that 1 or 2% of the prospects at any given time are in what I call true transition. Now, think about this number. If you've ever heard of like direct mail, right? The direct mail, when you used to mail stuff out, that's why the percentage of return is always 1 or 2%, because no matter what your offer is, when you get those big packs that have 1 million company discounts in them, what they're looking for is a 1 or 2% return. It's the same thing in our business. There's 1 or 2% at any given time that are open and looking and would be interested in your offer. And so you've got to focus on doing numbers, right? You want to sponsor people, right? And my experience is the number who really get through those who get through the numbers on a regular basis are the ones that make it long term. It's a little bit of an activity in the beginning to get a pipeline. It takes some time to fill the pipeline, get your belief, get your skills up, and then results start to happen. What most people do is they go talk to a few people. They don't have any skill yet. They don't have any belief yet. They don't have a pipeline, and they're looking for immediate results. Just know that if you do the pipeline, as people get in that pipeline, you have people that, and let's say it's a month later, you got people that you're talking to that respond today, some that all of a sudden respond from last week, some that all of a sudden respond from 3 weeks ago. And the longer that you're in it, sometimes you'll have people, if you're in the business for a year, they'll come back 6 months or a year before. And if you've got a whole team of people that are having people come back from yesterday, last week, last month, 6 months ago, a year ago, do you see how that kind of compounds? But it takes time to build up the pipeline. So make sure that you're relentless at keeping the pipeline full and teaching your people the same thing, because the results typically don't happen super fast, right? Now here's the sifting process. The first sift is which prospects will take 5 minutes to listen, right? This is what I teach my people, because what I want to do is I want to talk to them. The next shift is which ones will enroll. The next is who will take action and invite other people to see who's open to listen for 5 minutes. And the last shift is who will stick with the business long enough, right, to learn the skills. There's several different sifting levels, right, and you're looking for someone who comes out at the very end. Now, just know that anyone who won't listen for 5 minutes, don't keep bugging them. Don't keep asking them. Because I know how it is when you're new, right? Oh, you'll be great at this. You need this. You've been unemployed, or everybody loves you. You got this big list. You just hound people to death, and that's why people don't like network marketers, because they just can't leave it alone. If the timing isn't right, it doesn't matter how incredible the deal is to you, it's irrelevant to them. It's not a reflection on their intellect, right? They could be brilliant. It just means the timing's not right, or this is not for them. And just know this. This is a really key note. You get paid to be told no. You don't get – see, if it was just about getting a yes and sign-ups, anybody can do that because it's exciting, right? You get paid to be told no. And if everybody did this and everybody stuck with it, it would pay what a job pays. In order for this to be big, right, for a few of us to be totally free and make an absolute fortune, it has to have some degree of difficulty, right? There is no easy business that can pay millions. So just go ahead and internalize that and understand the process. It's got to be a little bit difficult, and you got to be able to stick with it for a while for it to pay off, or they just wouldn't have the incentive to give us a lot of money, right? I just know there's nothing that you can do to change somebody's timing. Like I said earlier, it doesn't matter how great this is to you, and that was confusing to me, because it was so obvious to me that this was the best model. I was so angry in the beginning. I got a little bit cocky because I would get pissed off when people wouldn't be interested. I would say something like, well, what part bothers you? Is it the big money or the free time? Because I just didn't get that people wouldn't go to work for a few years hard to be free and to own their life and be with their family. I just didn't understand it. But after a while, I kind of calmed down and I stopped saying stuff like that to people, because it never does any good to go off on people, because if they were remotely interested or liked you, they won't come back. So you got to kind of chill out on that. So just learn from my mistakes on that one. Right, and just keep moving, right? If you're not putting this in front of 5 or 10 people a day, 5 days a week, you are not fully committed to the business. Did you hear that? 5 or 10 people a day. How long does it take to ask someone if they're open for a 5-minute conversation? It takes 30 seconds, right? That's really simple. Right? Until you ask at least 5 people a day, you're not in the business, right? It's not when you get in the business. It's when the business gets in you. Right? When the business gets in you, literally, after you get used to this, you'll be asking 10 or 20 people a day, if they're open, because it doesn't take long, once you get past the heebie-jeebies of asking people. Now, I can remember having a list. Now, this is how you have to get committed. This is in the old days, pre-internet, pre-Facebook, right? I used to cold call. I cold called 33,000 businesses in the old days to get to the top of my last pay plan. And I went down to the library. I printed lists of businesses, and I had because you can look them up by types of businesses in this book. It's called I think it's the Direct Marketing Source or something like that, because it's been like a long time. But I would look up a list of businesses that were open from 8 to 5. A lot of businesses are open from 8 to 5. Then I had a list of like restaurants, retail, businesses that were open from 5 to 9. And then I had a list of businesses that were open 24 hours, convenience stores, bail bonds, 24-hour fitness, courier services, cabs, and what happened is that we were told to contact 30 new people a day, 5 days a week. That's a bit of a chore. It's a lot of work. But, and if I didn't have my 30 in by 5 p.m. with that first, list that was 8 to 5 businesses, I switched to the next list. I started calling businesses that are open from 5 to 9. And then if I didn't have my 30 in by 9, I switched to the list of businesses that were open 24 hours. And again, once the business was in me, I never ever went to bed without talking to 30 people that day. I did that 5 days a week, and now that you have Facebook, there are people that are there 24/7. So you guys have really got it made. If you're committed, there's just no way you can't talk to 5 or 10 people a day on Facebook. Now, if you're kind of not getting off to the right start, it's a struggle for you, because here's what happens when you're new is you look around at the people that are doing awesome, right? And it's kind of confusing because it looks like some people are blowing it out and you wonder what's wrong with you. For my first 3 years, I made $27,000 total, right? And I didn't do what I was told. The first 3 years, and then I decided to do what I was told. When I got up to that approaching 30 people a day, 5 days a week, 18 months later, I was at the top of the pay plan at that company, right? And now with technology, as I said earlier, you've got Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram. There's so many social networks. You have access to 24 hours a day. There's 1 billion people out there online, and they're around the world, and they're up all the time. So you have no reason not to contact people. Now, the next thing is, I see more often than not, is reps connecting with plenty of people, right? They're out networking and connecting and building relationships, but they're not asking the question to see if anybody's open to talk for 5 minutes, right? If you're just chatting with people and you're just scrolling through profiles, it's not going to work. Okay, you must reach out and ask, and then let us or your mentor, if you're in another program, let us talk to them and help get them enrolled, right? And make you money and teach the process. You've got to ask people, not just chit chat. So, bottom line, is that you've got to follow a simple process. Like I said before, when you enroll people, they need to be able to just ask someone for 5 minutes, and that's it. That's how simple it is. That's how simple it should be. That's what we do. Let your mentor enroll the people until you find your leaders that will stick with it, right? And this can duplicate over and over and over, because anybody can ask someone for 5 minutes. Remember, don't worry about starting off bad. I started off pathetic. I stunk for 3 years, didn't make any money, but I didn't stop. I kept going until I could connect with people, and I used personal development, right, and mentoring is what I used to build the leader. So you've got to become a leader and a mentor if you don't have one, or you got to find one. Now remember, starting off slow means nothing. Not enrolling anyone right away means nothing. The only thing that matters is, are you really committed to learn a simple process, stick with it until you have the skill and a foundation of leaders. Now, this is Tim Edwards, another High Skill Academy video. If you need to talk to me or ever want to chat, we don't have to be in the same company. You can always call my direct line. It's 214-396-1051. If you want more cool trainings, here's my YouTube channel. It's timedwardsyoutubechannel.com. Have a great weekend.